Hello and welcome to episode number 40. We're getting in the big numbers now, Mike, of the FDT TV Podcast. Obviously, he's Mike. I've just introduced him. He's got a new shirt, which is very, very nice. I'm Ian. We're here every Tuesday. And, well, we're here all the time now because we're in lockdown again. But we've got a podcast coming out every Tuesday. Thankfully, though, this lockdown, professional sport is continuing.
Yes.
It lets Man City infect everybody and all the Christmas parties that everyone went to. Here's the thing. If you went to a Christmas party, why take a picture? Why don't you go, I won't be in it, I'll take it.
Do you know what? I was actually thinking this myself. How fucking stupid, excuse my language, have you got to be an elite sports person that's a role model for thousands, millions of people? If you're going to break the rules, just don't make sure no one takes a bloody picture of it.
Yep. Simple.
Come on.
Simple.
Use your brain.
We're here with solutions, not with problems. But not yet, anyway.
Yeah, professional footballers, listen. Take heed.
Right, we do have our first section of the week, which is my favourite. Well, it's not my favourite, but I like the intro. It makes me sound nice. So it is Goal of the Week.
That was a good intro.
Mate, I just... It's a lung buster.
You put Cher to shame on that one.
And no auto-tune. That's me.
That's just you.
I'm able to harmonise. I'm magical.
Spot on. Absolutely spot on, mate. Love it. So, we have gone to the Twitter polls again for the Goal of the Week competition. You'll be able to see under us, we have our Twitter names.
Yep.
If you want to come follow us on there, please feel free to do so. We do post updates for when games are on, any news that's relevant. Obviously, there's the transfer window coming up, which we will get into a lot later. But yes, we have stuff going on Twitter, namely the Goal of the Week poll. This week, you have been voting in your tens of thousands.
Get him to subscribe.
Yes. So the goals of the week this week, these are just my opinions. Appreciate everyone who has taken the time to vote on there. I went for Gundogan and Man City. Thought it was a brilliant individual goal. It was a good pass. No, I think it was Foden laid it off to Gundogan. Nice little cheeky turn.
Mm-hmm.
Caught it and got it right in the bottom of the goal. For me, that was a good goal. Kieran Tierney, the individual effort. Coming in on his weaker right foot. Bosh, top bins. Saka, for me, this was more an individual goal. No, and not an individual goal, a team goal. Tierney's was an individual goal. Saka's was more the team goal. And then Eze for Crystal Palace. Again, I thought it was a superb effort. Great finish. And the winner, Kieran Tierney for Arsenal. What a goal.
You got my vote.
I can't vote on it. It sucks. Yeah, what a goal that was. Completely pushed it. It was almost reminiscent of a Gareth Bale-esque type finish where he knocks it past the player, runs onto it. Nice little cut back inside, into the box. As I said, the weaker right foot, bosh, see you later. And that was actually one that I shouted the words, oh my God, when that went in. Because I thought that was a brilliant goal. But yes, that's this week's Goal of the Week. Make sure you tune in for further episodes of the Goal of the Week.
I do think he had an unfair advantage though. He's Scottish, isn't he? So he's used to the cold, and it was snowing.
Yes.
So everyone else is. You know that point where you, like you think your fingertips hurt because it's that cold. That's what it would have been like, and he would be in his flip flops and shorts going for a sunbathe and that.
Yeah, I did actually make a comment that you see half of the Arsenal squad wearing long johns, gloves, long sleeve shirts, and he's going out, as you said, warming up in his shorts and t-shirt with his sunglasses on and a beach towel. Yes, good old Kieran, love it.
So we've had a goal of the week, and it was a blinder this week, and that moves us swiftly on to more pressing issues. One good, one bad. So, as we've already spoken about Kieran Tierney and Saka and their tremendous efforts, why don't you take it away, Mike?
Okay, so the one good for me this week was the team performance. It's such a generic term to be using because there were some great individual performances, but I think overall the Arsenal team performance was absolutely outstanding. Some could say that it was against a weakened opposition, but you need to remember that this is the team that also drew against Liverpool only a couple of weeks ago, and it wasn't just West Brom then. Granted, they've had a few crap results, but they have taken points off of some of the big dogs. But it's a performance that we haven't seen from the Arsenal team in a long while. I think since the opening day of the Premier League. And it was just brilliant. It was seeing people press in, shots being taken from reasonable positions. I mean, Lacazette was actually in the right place at the right time and managed to get the ball in the back of the net twice. So yeah, overall team performance from Arsenal was brilliant. That is my one good. The one bad, I have to say it, and this again may sound controversial, but Aubameyang's attitude. I know he did have an assist for Lacazette's last goal, but there were a couple of times that you've seen, or that I certainly saw him getting really frustrated on the pitch, and then you start to see the negative attitude. There was arms being swung around. There was also like a lazy tackle which could have caused, or he could have got a yellow card from. I know he's got a tremendous weight on his shoulders at the moment with the team performance, and he hasn't hit the heights that he wants to be at for what he's hit the last couple of seasons. It's just okay. If things aren't going your way at the moment, keep plugging away. It will happen again, and especially after performances like that the weekend, his chances will come. He will find the back of the net again, and we'll continue to move up the table. So my one bad is Aubameyang's attitude towards the end of the game. The one good is Arsenal's performance in general.
Well, it's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, he's not being relied upon now for all the goals because you've got some of these other players scoring for you, and Lacazette's on form as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he took his place from the start, to be fair. And Aubameyang drops to the bench. Do you know what? If you had told me 4 weeks ago that you would be 3 points behind us,
catching you, mate,
right? I would have laughed in your face and said, no chance. There is no chance of that. But here's the thing, right? I've recently started uploading Football Manager videos to show Arteta how to do it. Since I started recording them, your form has been tremendous because you've been playing the same teams and what I've been putting out.
It could also be, I just want to say for the record, that it could be that he's watching my squad and my match previews.
It could be.
Because I'm not being funny, since my controversial picks a couple of weeks ago for bringing Emile Smith-Rowe in and the talks of Martinelli, I've said this before to you on the podcast so many times that I can't wait for Gabriel to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And he come back in, and his first game he made an immediate impact.
Yeah.
Granted, he did have to come off in the second half because of an injury, but he's been brilliant, and the whole team has been brilliant since he's been back. But yes,
yeah, it's horrible, but it's also pleasing at the same time because it means that another club will end up down there rather than Arsenal. Hopefully, I don't know. Oh, well, Chelsea are on the slide, aren't they? Frank's not got long. Right. One good, one bad from West Ham versus Everton. We'll start off by saying a 1-0 win against Everton for me was slightly unexpected. So my one good is no. We're going to start on a bad note. Lucas Fabianski is injured. There's been I'm not been able to find any reports as to how long he'll be out for. Last time he got injured, we sacked a manager after a 9-game winless run. So he got injured in the warm-up and Darren Randolph come in. There were some West Ham fans who weren't happy with my opinions on Twitter. I said, if he comes in, we will lose every game until Fabianski's back. Or Fabianski's back. I keep putting an N in the middle of his name. I don't know why. It's got too many letters. Like, just shorten it, man. And I said to him, like, quite clearly in my opening statement was, I hope I'm proved wrong. And people took offence to it and were saying, well, what do you mean he's not good enough? It's like, well, he weren't good enough the first time. That's why we sold him. Then he went to Middlesbrough and didn't do much and then got dropped as a first-team keeper there. He came in as backup and in the games that he has played has looked shaky, to say the best. So I was just frustrated that we've not recruited well in again, but this time it's in the goalkeeper position. But he kept a clean sheet. Obviously, it was a good team effort, so that's a good bad. And my one good is that Thomas Souček loves potato salad. That's it. There's nothing more to be said. He scored another goal. He got us the win, and he loves potato salad. That's
for me. That was. Do you know what? That nearly went in as a contender for goal of the week, and I know I had 2 Arsenal goals in the goal of the week. It's my fault. Fuck you. No, for me, I mean, we were briefly discussing this just before we come on air, but his goal was almost a stroke of genius because he had some weird assist to an assist to an assist, and then as the ball come in, it's taken a wild deflection. And he's kind of running into where he thinks the ball should have been, but through the grace of some almighty, it's hit him on the shin and got in. And for me, it was kind of like a stroke of genius because
I think he was anticipating a save, wasn't he? But Aaron Cresswell's shot was wildly off target. That was a saving grace, really. But I mean, I've said all along, I don't care how it goes in, provided it goes in for us.
Yes,
be scrappy as you like. I don't care. I'll take 1-0 wins all day long.
Yep, absolutely. And hopefully you'll drop some points soon. If not, you'll just climb up the table as we have been doing, and it'll be a nice competition towards the end of the season.
We had a couple of results that were a little bit shaky, but
hold my beer.
Yeah. And then obviously we've gone out and got that a good result. But this is the thing, we're starting to get better results against the teams who last year would have beat us. So we're getting draws and wins, which is always good.
I just want to come back to a point that you raised a couple of weeks ago, and I want to see if your opinion is still kind of along the same sort of lines.
Yep.
So I think I can't remember how far back it was, but you mentioned the fact that not having the fans in the stadium, it could be a positive reason for you guys at this current time at the moment.
Yep.
Where just to allow you for the team to bond together.
Yep.
If things are going badly, there's no one on their backs. Obviously, you'll get the abuse on the social media. However, it's not the immediate impact.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think that the fans not being in the stadium are as to why you guys are doing so well, or do you think that initial period is over and you're now just bonded as a team, and even if you were to get fans back into the stadium, they would still be able to carry on that momentum?
Good question. My opinion on that hasn't changed. I do think you can see there is a bond growing between that in that squad, in that West Ham team. And it's the best team effort I've seen from a West Ham team in years. And people say about the West Ham way. Well, actually, I think that's the way the West Ham way should be. It's not necessarily always the prettiest. It can be, but it's hard graft. You know, we looking at the club history. I think my mouth's just had a stroke. Looking at the club's history, it's a working class club and full of people who are hard workers, and the fans work hard to be able to go and see it. So you want to see that displayed on the pitch. If, for example, where they started to relax the rules and some fans were allowed back in, I don't think that would make too much of a difference. Because, yes, okay, 2,000 fans can be noisy. However, not all 2,000 of them are going to be getting on the backs of people, because people like to watch football in different ways, and you're secluded still by 2 or 3 meters from everyone else. So, if how do I put this? When a goal scored, you're sitting behind the goal, third row in, and everyone jumps up. You automatically just do it out of instinct, whether you want to or not. It happens. If you're sitting up in the gods and it's a bit of an empty game and it's an FA Cup second round, and the goal goes in, you give them a clap, like, yeah, well done, cool. You don't jump up and go mad, do you? So the 2,000 fans wouldn't. If, however, there was to be a 60,000 seater stadium, as West Ham's is, full up of home and away fans, I've spoken to a number of West Ham fans now who are of the same opinion of me, with Sebastian Haller does not put in the effort. And I've made the points, good and bad for him, that he does strike the ball well, but he's lazy. And everyone has agreed with me with that. And they've all said, it's lucky we're not there because we'd be on his back. That's every fan I've spoken to about it. So 60,000 people booing him is going to make him, I think, play worse. I don't think you can get much worse. But then I think that's going to radiate into the rest of the team. Because why are they booing us? We're playing really well, we're trying hard, yet we're still getting booed. And I think that would then, there's a number of players in there who I do think are maybe mentally fragile when it comes to performing in front of a crowd. And that would hinder our performances.
Okay.
So long story short, no, my opinion hasn't changed.
Okay.
Could have just said that, really. I didn't. I do like a ramble. I do apologise. On that note, shall we move on to the predictions? We mucked up a little bit last week, didn't we? As you rightly pointed out just before we kicked off. There's been 2 games since our last podcast. We only predicted one of them because we are short-sighted, hence why I'm wearing glasses.
And I'm my father's son, who also wears glasses. So
exactly.
We had the games that we predicted, which were, allow me to rejig my my screens. Also, we will come on to this, but there is the subject of the old
bloody bastard. That one.
Yes, but we shall come back to that.
Okay.
So the games that we predicted: Brighton versus Arsenal, Southampton versus West Ham United, and then Man United versus Wolves.
Yep.
You had Arsenal down for a draw. I had Arsenal to win 2-1. It was 1-0, 1 point to me, 0 to you. West Ham versus Southampton. You had Southampton down as a 2-1 win. I had a 1-1 draw. It was 0-0. So 1 point to me, 0 points to you. Man United versus Wolves.
I like the way you said before, do you want me to surprise you? You got no points again. I'm not surprised. It's not a surprise.
Hang on. Man United versus Wolves. You said you did United Wolves to draw 2-2. I said United Wolves to draw 2-2. The score was 1-0 to Man United, so 0 points. I
was just trying to rack my brains as to what I said and what the score was, but
so yes, there is
no change.
So 2 points for me for the draw and the win. Didn't get the correct results. So overall, the season totals have moved to Ian on 26, Michael on 35. So the gap is increasing yet again. So that leads us nicely onto this week's predictions.
Means nothing, mate. Means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, isn't it?
Yep. Poorly.
Yeah.
I'm consistent. I'm consistently poor throughout the season. Like,
so we have the FA Cup this weekend.
Yep.
Arsenal versus Newcastle. West Ham versus
Stockport County.
Thank you. Up at SDK, that could have been Stoke, and I would have been completely wrong. And then the last game is a bit of a nice home touch to myself and yourself, going for Southend United versus Barrow. So we'll start with my game, Arsenal versus Newcastle. FA Cup, it's our trophy. We are the current holders of the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? There's part of me, because I don't know what sort of squad that we're going to be going for. We've seen a bit of an upturn in form in the Premier League. We have rotated the squad slightly in the fact that we're giving more youth opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I have liked what I've seen with the youth being incorporated in the teams, because there's been a couple of players who I'm not afraid to call out because my opinions haven't changed on them. Pepe and Willian.
Yep.
But as an example, you've heard me rant about both of them. Certainly Pepe for a while now. They're too inconsistent. I don't see enough work rate that you have seen out of some of the youngsters. And I think Saka is going to have his place nailed down on that right wing, cutting in as Pepe should be doing. However, because we have started to see the upturn in form in the Premier League with that squad, it wouldn't surprise me if we see the likes of David Luiz being recalled back into the squad, William being called back into the squad, Pepe being called back into the squad. So,
do you mean the people you would expect to be in the first team? You mean?
Yes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that team coming back in, potentially with the likes of Martinelli playing because he didn't play in the last game. I think, does this one go straight to penalties? There's no replays this year, is there?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm pretty sure there's no penalties. So I would see this as a draw, potentially in 90 minutes, with it going to penalties, and us to win on penalties. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
You're going what?
Arsenal to win on pens.
Are you at home or are you away? You're at home. Okay, I'm going to go with... there's no fans, you see. I'm going to go with Newcastle to win 2-1.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do.
Cool.
I've just seen the button here and I don't know what it does. It's got like an expletive. Oh, part of me wants to press it. Should we press it and see what happens? Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh.
So for let's change this round. So for those of you who want to know what this button does, I can share all the like, and useful to know. Not so useful to line up when I'm ranting. But yeah, for all of you, that's what that button does. At least I know. Stockport County. Well, I said Newcastle were going to win. I just feel like they're gonna put a stop to your good run of form, and just mop up a game where you think, mate, Arsenal should be winning and knock you out the cup.
Potentially. And that's what I said. I think it's going to go to a penalty, and I think for that, it's going to have to take the squad to be rotated back to the likes of your Pepe, your Willian.
It would make sense. That would make sense because of the amount of fixtures that have been played.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that, and that's partly my concern playing Stockport County. And I was going to say we'll probably play a younger team just for the amount of fixtures we've been playing. Sorry, hang on. Pardon me.
Shut.
Because of the amount of fixtures we've been playing, we've seen some weird lineup selections from David Moyes. Some have worked, some haven't. I think it's going to be another weird one now against them. And if fans were there, I would say we were going to lose 2-1 or 1-0. The ground's not going to be fantastic, but I mean, we're not exactly used to playing prime Barcelona football, are we? You see? So with that, with there being no fans in the ground, I'm going to go quietly confident at 5-0 to West Ham. And
that's quietly confident.
It's quietly confident because I've got a real fear, right, that we're going to get tonked in this one.
Okay.
But our early rounds of the Carabao Cup, we did win reasonably convincingly. So I imagine that's probably going to continue.
I was going to be, I think, more conservative. I'm still with a West Ham win.
Yep.
There's again, it's something that we've both said over the last few podcasts, is that it's not the same West Ham you would see week in, week out and seasons gone by. There is a lot of fight about you guys now. You're going until the 90 minutes, thus proven. With a couple of results you've had recently, coming up with last-minute winners. But I think you need to be more confident, personally, and I'm probably shooting us both in the foot here by saying this, but I think at least 3-0, at least. Okay. So mine is going to be 3-0, but yeah, I think you need to be a bit more confident. I know 5-0, but that was kind of like you got quietly confident.
Well, it's not that. It's we've got the squad to be able to thump Football County, especially when there's no fans. But with the amount of fixtures, I think he's going to play a real young squad, and that could be the undoing. Like taking too many of those players that are in form out. But we wait and see.
What would your preference be though? A decent league position and an awful cup run, an average league position and a decent cup run.
Well, usually we get a poor cup run and a poor league position. I personally, I would love a cup run, an FA Cup final. I just feel like we haven't had one since Liverpool, have we? Steven Gerrard, he hadn't learned to slip over at that point. But yeah, no, I think a cup run would be good for the club at this point. I do think we need to be consistent, and a lot of players. I know a lot of West Ham fans every year go, "We should be aiming for Europa. That's where we should be aiming." I think anywhere between 10th and up is where we should be aiming. There's a lot of good teams about now. It's not like it was 5 years ago where there was the big four and then anything after fourth was open game. There's now 6 really, really good teams, and then there's 4 or 5 teams that are not too far behind. I think if we can nick a couple of places there, then fantastic. But yeah, a decent cup run for me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to ask you that question because you've had a couple of decent cup runs, haven't you?
In recent years, yes. I think it's 3 in. I don't even know, 3 in 5 years. I don't think it's too bad. Yeah, it's certainly on the form that we had last season as well with Mikel Arteta, with him coming into a fairly average side, managed to pick up momentum, boss the cup or the FA Cup towards the latter stages of it anyway. Everyone had us written off and we managed to pull off the win. Yeah. But yeah, to be honest, for me, I think because we won the cup last year, obviously I want to go as far in the cup as possible and possibly win it. But I think definitely we need to focus more on the Europa League and getting higher positions in the in the Premier League to get the Champions League places. Because I would like to get that top 4 and nail the Champions League places without having to rely on the Europa League. And if we do win the Europa League, happy days.
Yep.
But at the same time, I know there's still a long way to go in the season, but the FA Cup could be like it was last year, depending on how the teams around us do, that the FA Cup could be our route into Europe again.
Yeah.
So it's all swinging around about.
The league at the minute is so close. It is tightened right up, which I find more entertaining. I said this, like Liverpool were running away with it last year, and it just wasn't fun.
No.
I think the most entertaining part about it was when it stopped and we went into lockdown. That was, yeah. But okay.
I know what you mean.
Moving on swiftly to Southend versus Barrow, the relegation 6-pointer in League Two. Southend sitting rock bottom of League Two. Barrow sitting in 20th, if I'm correct. 21st. There's 4 or 5 points between them. So 4 points. So see, not bad. I mean, knowledge isn't bad. It's not bad. Go on. I'll let you take it.
To be honest, I know Southend have managed to get results in over the last few games, and it's nice to see Southend getting some results over the last couple of games, because I don't even know how long it's been since they managed to pick up anything. I know they've had the odd draw and whatever, but the majority of losses. However, it's my own team. I have still got my Southend shirt from when I was a regular going over to there, because it was literally just round the corner for me. There's me and a few mates who used to go over quite regularly. So they are my heart team, shall we say, from a local aspect. Granted, just because they have been doing so poorly, I will admit that I've not been keeping an eye on them as much as I have been, or as I used to, sorry, shall I say. But I am going to go for... I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Going to sit on the fence. 1-1 draw.
I'm going 1-0 to Barrow.
Okay.
Part of that is, for me, I want them to get relegated. Not
Southend.
Yeah, not for the team, because I think that would be the end of it. But for the bloke who owns it, he's criminal, isn't he? He shouldn't be allowed to own a football club. He puts all of his other businesses' debt through that club. He doesn't pay any tax. And then HMRC every 2 seasons come along and say, you've got to pay us. This year he missed the deadline, didn't he? He missed the deadline by like 12 hours. He's got the money to pay it. When you look at his net worth, he's got the money to pay it. He ain't in any trouble whatsoever. He just don't want to. So they've got a transfer ban as well, haven't they? So I think the best thing for them would be to go down, and then he has to sell it on the cheap, because actually he ain't going to put any more money into it because he can't afford to. I don't know if that would be the end of Southend entirely, which would be a shame. But I mean, there's always talk of a new stadium, isn't there? Was it Fossett's Farm? That never going to happen. The last few companies, I think at one point he was in with B&Q. They didn't want to wait too long, so they built their new UK base just up the road. Then it was Sainsbury's, and Sainsbury's said, we want this, this and this, and he went, no, I want 100% control. And they went, well, no, we're putting all the money in, you ain't having 100% control. And so that's not going to happen. It's been in talks for like 20 years. But I feel like it should be criminal. He should be put away for running that like he does. It's not fair on the fans, on the players, on the other staff that he doesn't pay on time and things like that. So for me, they're in poor form anyway, but that's not really their fault. They're lacking as a squad. But 1-0 to Barrow. Sorry, cool. It's a bit measurable, but
no,
that's me.
It could get you 3 points this week, mate.
Good. Well, I need them. Should we move on to my favourite intro?
Yes.
Go on.
Blah, bloody blah, bloody blah, 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 blah. Not pre-recorded. I'm very aware I had a very
do you know what I want to do? I want to figure out how to set that up as my ringtone. So every time I get a text, that's what comes through.
I'll show you a photo.
That would slay me, but I don't know how to do it. Go on, VAR.
Yes. So there was something I wanted to bring up. We have briefly spoken about this before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with their current league position, I think it needs to be raised. Manchester United and their penalty decisions.
What you mean, Paul's goals? Paul Pogba fouling himself and getting a penalty?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a little bit in two minds about this this decision, and the reason why I say this, it's that age-old. I'd be outraged if it was not given for me, but at the same time, I think it's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? So if it was Kieran Tierney and he had the ball in the box and he tripped over his own legs and made it look like it was a penalty, I'd be screaming for the penalty. Is what I'm trying to get. However, if it was me, I'm still flabbergasted. I heard a stat the other day that Bruno Fernandes has had 9 penalties or scored 9 penalties this season.
Mm-hmm.
That is a joke. No team should be winning that many penalties.
We've had almost as many penalties this year as we have had in any other Premier League season in its entirety. They're only about, I think they're 30 off of the highest one ever. We're not even halfway through the season.
That's mental. And I know we've got the likes of VAR now for making those clear and obvious errors and all that.
But that was a clear and obvious error. He kicked himself in the legs. Here's the thing, right? Not 2 weeks ago, was it? Maybe when we played Manchester United, Sebastian Haller dribbled past their defence and rounded the keeper, and then the ball fouled him. He didn't get a penalty. What? So, if he'd kicked himself, would he have got a penalty then?
Quite possibly.
It's a joke, mate. It's a joke.
Yeah, and I know everyone was kind of all aboard the banter bus with Man United towards the start of the season because of how poorly they were doing, or how poorly they were perceived to be doing. They're now level on points with Liverpool, obviously depending on how tonight's result goes for Liverpool.
Well, Liverpool are losing currently.
Oh, go on, Southampton.
Danny Ings scored in a second a minute.
Yeah, boy.
And he's like, yeah, glad you sold me now, aren't you? Yeah.
That's in the 56th minute as well.
Yeah, man.
Yes, so as I was saying, everyone was on the ball with the banner bus with Manchester United. The amount of people that were calling for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's head, and we were given the statements that surely the man can't be in the job for much longer, given the way that Manchester United were performing.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, there have been some good performances for portions of the games. However, for large portions, or certainly for some of the game, they look like the Manchester United from the start of the season.
Yep.
But have worked out the ability to do, or to grinding out the results, and then getting towards the end of the game and somehow picking up the lucky penalty decisions.
Yep.
And it's frustrating me. Not to the point where I'm like, oh no, this is ridiculous. I'm looking because we never get penalty decisions, because that's not true. I think there's possibly 1 or 2 that we've missed out on. Looking at, and as an Arsenal fan, subjectively at the decisions that have been made, 1, possibly 2 decisions that could have gone the other way. But on the most part, I think we've been judged fairly fairly in terms of penalty decisions. But for Manchester United, it literally seems to be, as soon as they get into the box, the slightest contact, they go down. And I know it's kind of coached into them a little bit. But surely, if it is the case that penalties are being given, the other teams need to wake up.
Here's my point. Here's my point to that. Sorry to cut you off a little bit. Who won the Premier League last year?
Liverpool.
And how many penalties did they get or decisions did they get that went to VAR that were wrong? Lots. I've listed off loads of them in an earlier episode, and these are ones that were clear and obvious that the players themselves said were wrong. Manchester United have clocked on very cleverly that VAR is rubbish. And all you need is a fingertip contact and you will get a penalty, providing you don't really over-dramatise it. Paul Pogba, he kicked himself in the legs and went down. He went down from the legs. He didn't go down from his back or his chest like a lot of players do. But they're playing the game.
Mm.
And personally, I think it's wrong, but they're playing the game, and you can't fault them for that. Any other team could do it.
That's what I was just about to say. Is that, do you think then with the scheme or the agenda the way it is at the moment, would you see that if other teams start cottoning onto that and started following suit with that sort of decision, would
they scrap VAR?
That would be no. Do you think that would be the end of English football?
In fairness, mate, the way VAR has gone, I think we've already seen the end.
Okay.
I really do. Unless there's some real dramatic change, or they start sacking some of these officials who are awful, it takes the fun out of the game. You do get moments where you like Souček's goal was fantastic, clearly was onside, but there was a little part of me thought they're going to bring it back for a handball somewhere.
Yeah.
And it zapped all the fun out of it. And the fact that they look at decisions like the Paul Pogba one and go, that is a penalty, there's nothing wrong with that, even though it's very clear and obvious to everybody that he kicked his own legs. I think we've already seen the end. It's let's move to Holland and watch Ajax win everything all the time. You know, what it's going to come down to, I think, is teams being clever, playing the system, playing the game, until such point as there is so much cheating that it's just like, well, we might as well get rid of it here. Just play with sort of minimal rules. If you break someone's leg, that's a yellow. If you get a concussion, you've got to go off. Other than that, don't handball it, you know?
That reminds me of a game I used to play when I was a kid. It was called Brutal Sports Football.
Oh, you go on about this every time. I've never heard of it. It's not a real thing.
Brutal Sports Football, man. I'm going to show you the video. It's basically this really weird football meets American football thing, and literally you could go into people. It's honestly one of the best games ever played in my life. I will show you.
There was another game that came out more recently, and I can't remember what it was called. It was a bit like FIFA, but it was one of those that you got special like power ups if you destroyed players. So this is before my FIFA anger issues, where I just slide everyone anyway, right? I'm playing it with my cousin. He didn't tell me this. He just said, yeah, it's just like FIFA. Just play that. And all of a sudden he was sliding me, fouling me, and I'm like, where's the free kick? And he's like, what free kick? That was fine. I got the ball. And then all of a sudden he does this 95-yard blasted shot from his goalkeeper and scores. I'm like, what? Where's that come from? And he's like, oh, you get special power ups. Oh, I've got to go now. Bye. And it's like, okay. But I imagine that's how football's going to end up. You just need like some flames coming out the ball.
Yeah. Mystery ball.
Mystery ball. That's what we need. Someone sort it out. You've seen the film Gamer, starring Gerard Butler. That's what we need.
Oh, mate. So we now come to a section. It's that time again. Transfers. We are in the transfer market. As you quite rightly said at the start of this podcast, we have had the announcement that Elite Sports will continue.
Yep.
Which is good news for, I think, for a lot of people's mental well-being. Not only the players, but for the fans watching it as well.
It gives you something to look forward to and get annoyed about VAR every weekend. So I mean, that's the highlight of my weekend. That's my allotted time to get annoyed.
My question to you is,
Yes.
given the current circumstances in terms of the whole COVID situation,
Yes.
it's international problem.
Yes.
It's not just limited to a certain few countries. It's an international problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there will be more more homegrown transfers, or do you think that there will still be the usual? This player looks good from such and such a country. Let's bring him in.
Right. There are 2 points to this. Number one, we've now officially left the EU, so the work permit points are different. So the likes of there's lots of players playing in China who will no longer be able to get a work permit in the UK. An example of that was Hulk. Linked with a number of teams, would have been quite good to see, but because he's not played for his country so many times, and because where he's been living, he wouldn't meet the criteria to get a work permit to be able to play. So he's moved to the Premier League, although it was on a free, completely ruled out. There are a number of other players who I think will fall foul, even though they're playing in Europe and in some of the bigger leagues, because the transfer fees are not big enough. Because that works out as like the top X amount of percent of transfers in the country, So I think some of those will fall foul, or you're going to have to pay over the odds for a player of foreign nationality. So I do think there's going to be more homegrown. You're going to see more players who are already playing in the lower leagues of footballs, League 1s, 2s, Championship, obviously, maybe lower. And I think that's where a lot of them are going to come from. And also, teams who've got very good youth academies. So your Chelsea's and your Manchester United's, your Arsenal seems to be flourishing at the moment. They're going to thrive in this current climate. Because actually, do we need to spend any money? In Arsenal's case, no, we don't. Because actually, we've gone and got 4 players from the youth academy, and they're now all in the first team. They're pulling us out of trouble. So I do think we're going to find maybe a few more stars, a bit like Jamie Vardy coming from the lower leagues, playing in every league. And I can only say, in my personal opinion, that is a good thing. Not only for football teams, but for younger players looking to make it in that profession, and also for the national team. Mm-hmm. If it's more competitive and a lot more of the players playing for the best teams against the best teams are all homegrown and English or from the home nations, then our football's going to be not as defensive.
Yeah.
But what would your opinion be in it? Would you still be happy to go and sign like £100 million person from Venezuela?
No, I actually wouldn't. And we've already seen some departures from the Arsenal squad already. So Kolasinac has gone to for the remainder of the season.
Is he?
And yes, he went yesterday, I believe. And also we have had confirmation, or he might have actually gotten at the back end last week. So it might have been Saturday also. But he's definitely gone.
Mm-hmm.
And also William Saliba has confirmed that he is going back to France this week to play more games. So one of the issues, or one of the arguments that Arsenal fans have been having, is that we signed this player, Saliba, 2 years ago. He was supposed to finish with St Etienne, I think, last year, and this year was going to be his year. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances with family issues and transitional issues, I think is the words that have been quoted, he's not really been given a chance. So this is his chance to go back, start getting some regular football, and we may see the likes of him in a couple of years when the likes of David Luiz, potentially his contract runs up, that sort of thing. So
yeah,
those two have definitely gone. I think there are talks of more outs, potentially with Mesut Ozil. There was a couple of reports I've seen that he is potentially off I can't remember. I think it might have been one of the Milan clubs or Juventus or something saying that they were potentially interested. I don't know how true that is, and also the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with the state of the players that we've seen so far this season, granted there have been a few which have made a difference just recently. I think for the sake of 6 months of football, he can't be any worse than what we've got.
Yep.
Get Mesut Ozil back in. He's only got 6 months left on his contract. He stayed when a lot of people went. Give him his chance.
Well, he's if he's going to go on a free regardless, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So why you've got him and you're having to pay him, why not use him? I just feel like it's a silly move not to. And it's a shame because say a couple of seasons ago we were talking about him being the assist machine. It's not. That's not in the too distant past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Distant past.
That's the one. The player who comes to mind for me, for transfers and will be a absolutely stellar signing. On a free transfer because his contract has now been terminated. Diego Costa. I know a lot of people saying he loved the Premier League. A lot of the stuff I heard was he loved the league, loved the style of football. He hated the press. Yes, he is the wrong side of 30, but so I can't see him going to Manchester City or to a Chelsea or But why are the likes of West Ham, who are struggling for a striker, haven't gone all out to go, what do you want? How much do you want? Even if it's for the rest of the season, how much do you want? 6-month contract and then do what you like. Go wherever. Because I think for us, you put him up there with Haller, one or two things is going to happen. Haller's going to start playing well, or Diego Costa will murder him. And his whole family. No, that's not true. That's not true. That was an exaggeration. But he would probably cheer him out and say, "Listen, you're not good enough." And he'd either raise his game or have to leave. But for me, people are going about Josh King and Arnautovic. Diego Costa's sitting there on a free. Go and get him. He's the fire in the belly, isn't he? He's Antonio works his socks off, but Diego Costa was that fire in the belly of let's get at it. And I'm sure as an Arsenal,
he had a wicked shot on him, and I loved his anger and his passion. I mean, we definitely kept him quiet in the 2017 FA Cup final. Rob Holding and Per Mertesacker had him in his back pocket, mate. That was one of their best performances ever. But all jokes aside, I do agree actually, and there was also the talks of Wolves, I think, actually in for Costa as well. So I think if he's one that you guys or whoever is interested, I think you need to go in quick.
Yep.
For him.
I don't. We're now 4 days in, so there may have been talks ongoing and this, that, and the other. But surely you would make as a club, you would make a statement, say we're going all out to get Diego Costa. Show your intent, show your hand, and then if other people do come for it, you can go, look, we tried our best, we offered him this, someone else offered him more. Rather than going, we'll offer 300,000 for Josh King because he's out of contract in the summer. Diego Costa's free now. Just go and get him. Like, stop winding me up. How long has Frank Lampard got left? If results continue, because now here's the thing. I know I said about Arteta maybe not being good enough. We had the same discussion about Ollie. Chelsea don't hold back when it comes to sacking managers. They want success and they want success now. I think personally he made a mistake by going out and spending as much money as he did. I know there were some key parts of that Chelsea team that needed to change. However, he's gone out and spent, what was it, 200 million, something like that?
Yep.
In total, and they're just not playing. The when they sold their best player ever, Hazard, and were getting results, even though some of them were a bit shaky. When they didn't pull out a big result, it was like, oh, well, he's playing with youth players. He's not got that excuse anymore. So when you put in a performance like they did against yourselves, they didn't look like they wanted to play. And against City, they didn't look like they wanted to play.
No.
You've not got the excuse. You've just spent 200 million quid of me money. Where's my result?
This is something I was actually listening to on Talk earlier. And it is frustrating because we obviously know that football is a results-driven business.
Yep.
And I think in terms of, certainly for Arsenal, we have seen over the last couple of years the difference between a happy manager and happy players to an unhappy manager and unhappy players.
Yeah.
The difference is night and day.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think that, given the current climate, in terms of recruiting, say if they were to go ahead, Chelsea lose their next game, they sack Frank Lampard and get someone else in. They've got to pay off Frank Lampard first, and then they've got to then be able to offer the new manager an offer not only of employment, but depending on when he gets, or if and when he gets sacked within the market, if that is the case, he's then going to have to potentially spend out on players. Because I don't think any manager would want to come in without reassurances that this is the player I want. I think the difference, you need to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be very difficult on that front. So it wouldn't surprise me if, like I said with Arteta a couple of weeks ago, it wouldn't surprise me if we did see Frank Lampard given until the end of the season, just to see how the finances look, if fans are allowed to start coming back into the stadiums because of the vaccines and stuff, which therefore gets more revenue, or the club start to get revenue again.
Yep.
So it could then offset
some of the cost.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Frank Lampard until the end of the season. And
how many games did you go where you didn't get a win?
7.
And that was in the papers and stuff, wasn't it? I reckon if there's a headline like that running about Chelsea haven't won in 7, then that's, I think Abramovich will see that as failure rather than. I take your point about obviously finances, but he doesn't strike me as someone who's worried about that. It's not a business for him. That's what he gets enjoyment out of. He's owning this football club and seeing it succeed, and if they're not succeeding, then something's wrong. We need to change it. I just feel like Arsenal are a bit more of a longevity club. I think if the players hadn't seemed so unhappy to everybody under Emery, you would have stuck with him.
Yeah,
it's the fact that they all looked miserable getting off the bus, the pictures from training, the playing on the pitch, they looked miserable. And that was a point where, like, well, they're not getting results and they don't look like they're enjoying time under him.
Do you know what I think the turning point for us is?
Go on.
And I know it's still very early days in terms of getting results. I know we're past the half. We passed or coming close to the halfway point of the campaign this year. But I think it was a couple of weeks ago, Kieran Tierney come out and said, it's not the manager, the players need to buck their ideas up. And I swear it's been since then that there's kind of been some reassurances. I mean, all you got to do is go and look on your social media and look at his quotes, but Leno's quotes. There's, I think, some of the youngsters, they have been very vocal in terms of their what's the word, in terms of their comments for the likes of you fans deserve better, and it's kind of like an acknowledgement that the players haven't been pulling their weight. Granted, there have been some exceptions in terms of the selection, which is down to the manager, and there have been those players that personally I don't think warrant their place within the team currently with the way that the current players are playing. So that issue, I suppose, in one aspect has been addressed. But for me, I think the players have realised that the error is down to them. Now, with Frank Lampard and Chelsea, again, this may be a biased opinion, but you've got the likes of who was it, Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, who was the other one?
Kai Havertz.
Kai Havertz. None of them have really hit the ground running this year. And you've got the likes of Olivier Giroud, just certainly recently, when he's been in the team, has been scoring goals. Why wouldn't you stick with that formula?
Because how do you warrant spending £70 million on a player and not playing him? You should have figured that out, that wasn't going to work before you spent 70 million quid. You're tickling me now.
No, I do understand what you're saying, but it then kind of goes back to what we were just saying about it being a results-driven business. If you've got a formula there that's working, surely it shouldn't make a difference about how much you spent on a particular player if you're therefore winning games. Again, look at our front three. We've got the front just behind the striker they've been playing recently. Martinelli, I think it was like 5 million. Saka has come through the academy. Emil Smith-Rowe come through the academy.
But does that not speak plentifully for the fact of players that have grown up watching this? Because a lot of the ex-players and the pundits would precursor this by saying they all say how physical the Premier League is compared to European football. Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of other European leagues. I watch some highlights here and there, but I don't watch full games, so I don't see the differences in the physicality. But when you've got the likes of, as you said, Timo Werner, Ziyech and Havertz coming in, all decent players, good ball players, but actually when there's someone on you all the time, and if they're not on you, there's a big tackle coming in constantly, the players that have been brought up playing that way surely excel. You see, and the ones that you see, Martinelli's young Brazilian fella, yes, grew up in Brazil, played football on the streets. It's not exactly the nicest of places to grow up. In comparison to some of the luxuries that we have over here.
Yes.
So it sort of, it's a harsh upbringing. It toughens you up. You don't see, if you go to Germany, you don't see kids playing football in the street or in the park. That doesn't happen. You play for a team or you don't play. And it's very structured. It's not this street rules football. And I just don't think they're tough enough. So focus on the youth development. Chelsea did really well last year. Finished, top 4? With a team full of players from the youth academy. And now the likes of Tomori is looking like he's going to leave permanently. Mason Mount seems to be the only one getting still in that team. Hudson-Odoi, yes, he's had some injuries, but when he plays, he seems to have moments of brilliance. Tammy Abraham, yeah, okay, he's not prolific, but he scores regularly. But does he play? No, because we've got Timo Werner, but Timo Werner's not up to speed. I feel like you'll excel providing you continue playing the young players that come through your academy that you know work. Because who's been better this year? Emil Smith-Rowe in a couple of games that he's played, or Willian?
Emil Smith-Rowe, hands down.
And Willian, we know because we've seen it, has got the ability to change games. But has he got the desire to want to play, to win, and drive forward at every opportunity? No, because he's at the end of his career.
I think, actually, with the academy players are playing over the last couple of games, and this is something that I noticed, and Dan actually gave me a stat for Willian, that he's only had one shot in anger for Arsenal. One shot on target or one shot. Now, I did see him try more take-ons in the last 20 minutes of the game against, who did we play last? I can't even fucking remember. Brain fart. Who did we play?
Brighton?
Not Brighton.
No, it wasn't Burnley. West Brom. Yeah.
Sorry, complete brain fart. So I saw him try more take-ons and actually have a shot in that 20 minutes than he has done over the last 12, 13 games that he's played for us. So I think this is some sort of mind game, I swear, because not only are those players playing well and deserve their places in the team, but it should be giving a rocket up the backside of those players that have been coasting over the last few weeks, that somehow continue to be picked within the team. Some people were saying that it was something to do with who the agent represents them and you want to try and keep them sweet. Bullshit. If that is the case, fuck them off.
Yeah.
Get them out of the team. I only want people that want to play for the club, and that, as we said and have said on so many occasions, it doesn't matter on the. Oh, sorry, not that it doesn't matter on the results. That's ridiculous. You wouldn't mind losing a game, providing that you've seen your players leave 100% on the pitch.
Yep. Preach.
And that's the way I feel that we have been doing over the last few games. The Brighton game, I think, was possibly the toughest game. So the Chelsea game, I felt up for. I don't know what it was, couldn't tell you. You watched my preview. I say I'm fairly positive. That game we played against Manchester City, the scoreline flattered Manchester City. There was a couple of wrong decisions for offsides, could have been red cards, you name it. But I saw a passion there.
Mm-hmm.
And we come out against Chelsea as massive underdogs and we turn them over. Brighton, I think there was a game plan from Brighton's perspective that they were going to stick 11 men behind the ball and try and catch us on the counter.
Yep.
West Brom, we went back to the same mentality of just going forwards, making the opportunities, and playing the old Arsenal way, which is what we haven't seen pretty much all season. So I hope that is the case, that he continues to stick with these players whilst they are putting in a shift, and people only get back in on merit.
Which is how it should be selected, isn't it? It shouldn't be selected on, and I think sometimes it is, as you said, on, oh, we've paid a lot of money for you, you're on X amount a week, so you need to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's actually worked. I don't think that's actually worked. I'm looking forward to, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting. I think the gap at the bottom is going to get even closer as well. I think the top's maybe going to slow down a little bit and the bottom's going to get closer, and it's going to be a real mishmash of... I would like... Here's my thing. Personally, at the end of the season, after all 38 games have been played, I would like there to be, between top and bottom, a 20-point difference. I think that would make for an interesting season.
Mm-hmm. Where goal difference actually takes into account as well.
Yep. So the games that you don't turn up for, whether it helps West Ham or not, we had a protest, didn't we, in that first game against Newcastle? But if that game then costs us the ability to be in the Premier League, then so be it. I would rather it be really interesting than not at all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry, I'm just shit on my wrist. Have you got anything else to add to this week's edition of the podcast?
In terms of football, no. I just want to express to the people who are watching us on YouTube that we do have audio version of the podcast available on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast from, Anchor. We are available on that. For those of you that are listening on the audio only versions, we are on YouTube. Check us out, search for FDT TV, look for the kettle, which is our logo with the FDT TV on there, as you'll see from my football shirt, for those of you that are watching the YouTube. If there's anything you want to see, obviously lockdown permitting, over the next few weeks, please let us know in the comments. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you don't like what you're seeing, please tell us why you don't like what you're seeing. Other than that,
And no, I'm not getting naked for those of you who want to see that. It's not happening. Unacceptable. YouTube, well, privately maybe. But
there is a charge.
But if there is a charge, yeah. I don't think YouTube would like it. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. We've got some interesting things coming up in the coming weeks. But until then, I've been Ian.
I've been Mike.
We are FDT TV, and we'll see you soon. Take care.